All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again. This is webinar 28 in a series of webinars for small business, navigating the impacts of COVID-19. I'm Barbara Coffey, Director of Economic Initiatives for the City of Tucson. Today, we'll talk to key people representing a variety of financial assistance options for small business. As always, we'll take your questions as we go, so feel free to enter those in the chat box and we'll get to as many as possible in our time together today. We'll keep all participants muted since we do have a large number of attendees, but we will record the session and make it available for everyone. And typically we have those posted by noon tomorrow, and you can find links to all the previous webinars at connecttucson.com. So let's get started. First up, Larry Lucero is president of the board of directors for the Tucson Industrial Development Authority. Larry is recently retired as senior director of government and external affairs for Tucson Electric Power and Unisource Energy Services. He was responsible for developing the company's legislative agenda and priorities, influencing local, state, and federal policy, government relations, directing statewide business recruitment and retention, and directing a staff of government relations and economic development professionals. Larry is also a graduate of the University of Arizona. You'll hear more about his work with the Tucson Industrial Development Authority in his remarks today. Alongside Larry is Gary Melinda, president of Business Development Finance Corporation. Gary was with us on our first ever webinar back on March 23rd. That seems like a lifetime ago now. Gary joined Business Development Finance Corporation in 1987 as Community Development Group Manager and has served as president of BDFC since 1993. He has oversight responsibility for BDFC's Community Development Group, known as BDFC Advisor Services, whose clients include the City of Tucson Industrial Development Authority and the nonprofit Community Finance Corporation. BDFC has been consistently ranked as Arizona's #1 SBA 504 loan provider, having participated in over $1 billion in small business financing and with the added benefit of helping create or retain over 5,000 jobs. Prior to joining BDFC, Gary worked for Tucson commercial real estate developer J&C Companies and the national architectural firm specializing in complex healthcare and high-tech projects. He has master's degrees in architecture and business administration and a bachelor's in architecture from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. So welcome, Larry and Gary. And I'll turn it over to Larry to get us started today. So welcome to both of you. Oh, Larry, gonna unmute yourself. Here we go. One more time. Let's see if I can help with that.
And I'm going to share my screen with you all.
There you go. Perfect.
Good afternoon, everyone, all of my virtual friends. I think, Barbara, what is this, number 28?
It is 28. So
I think I've made 26 of those. I had a couple of conflicts, including last week. Gary and I had some stuff that we had to take care of over at the City of Tucson. But I am going to share some materials with you all from the Industrial Development Authority of the City of Tucson. So I'm going to try to share my screen and bear with me for a second, and we will get started.
It's giving you that I don't want to sound, isn't it? Let's see.
There we go.
Look at that.
You know, there's more than one way to get there sometimes. So thank you all for the opportunity to share with you some information about the Tucson IDA. I guess first important question is, what does the Tucson IDA do? Well, I'm going to run through some slides and tell you a little bit about what the structure of it all is so that you get a sense of what it is. It's a unique organization. I've got the honor of currently being the chairman or president, and we've got one seat open on this 7-member commission. And if any of you are interested in serving and live in the City of Tucson, we are definitely interested in recruiting a new person to the board. It's an appointment not made by us, it's made by mayor and council, but nevertheless, it would be fantastic if maybe one of the participants in the audience would participate in that. Maybe even a small business person who might be interested in providing that perspective. Oh, maybe somebody from the South Side, even better. So consider that. So the Industrial Development Authority, it's a nonprofit corporation with full corporate powers. We have a general counsel who does not work for the city of Tucson. He's paid for by the organization, and it's a political subdivision of the state with very limited government powers, but nevertheless, we think has a great deal of potential as an organization. So we have public funds that are very meticulously protected. We do due diligence in order to make sound decisions. We limit our activities through very arm's length kind of discussions, and only the officers act on behalf of the authority. So we take taxable and non-taxable revenue bonds and produce these mortgage-backed securities or single-family mortgage revenue bonds and qualified mortgage credit certificates. Very complex fundraising mechanisms, but they have proven to be very vital tools to help us in our mission. And so this mission is assisted by providing basically low-interest loans, financing small projects, technical assistance, and to build capacity for small business and nonprofit organizations. We've been very active in the nonprofit spaces in most recent past, simply because of the nature of what we've dealt with here in the economic problems that we've had here in Tucson. So the relationship between the IDA and the city of Tucson is established by those governing statutes, and those are listed here. And you can look those up at your leisure when you look at the recording of this event. So we have our own bylaws incorporated. We have a board of directors. We are City of Tucson. You must be a qualified elector of the City of Tucson. So all 7 members must be residents as well as eligible to vote. And very clearly, city employees and officers are not eligible for service on this board. So state law requires relationships with governing body to be very arm's length. We do not obligate the city to any of these, to any of this indebtedness that we work with. And so the other piece here that is worth mentioning is the city's not required to do a merit review of any of these transactions. We act as the go-between between the city as well as those organizations that we work with or assist or help purchase homes. So on the small business lending side, and Gary Melenda will talk quite a bit more in detail about that, we have, as our kind of staff, Business Development Finance Corporation, which has been a long-standing relationship between the IDA and the BDFC. Currently, we have about $2.5 million out in 24 loans. Just in the last fiscal year, we did just about $1.1 million in new loans. Those primarily are for small business in target areas that mayor and council have deemed a priority. So we're looking at the areas of the community that are economically distressed, as well as focusing in on small business, veteran-owned, women-owned, minority-owned types of business. So we follow that kind of prioritization in our efforts. Tucson's IDA's response to COVID-19. This year has been extremely difficult for all of us. We were directed not to meet as a board or commission, but seeing the magnitude of the problem that we have in our community, we sought a way to figure out how we could meet virtually and continue to do our work and actually partner with the city in a very creative manner to assist small business as best we could. So as you see from this slide, we've made efforts on a variety of fronts to make some of our discretionary dollars available to assist small business, whether it's through the SBA's PPP program or with our SBA 7A program, which Gary is managed. Also can talk a little bit more detail about that. The existing loan portfolio that the IDA has been managing, those a little over 20 loans that I mentioned earlier, we deferred all of those loans for a period of time, and we're working with each one of those borrowers in a custom manner. So if you have questions on it, Gary can talk a little bit more about those, because I think that's kind of the unique relationship that we have with our borrowers, and that is originally they probably were not the kind of borrower the banks would consider, but with our efforts, through the efforts of BDFC, we've been able to help them reach some goals in terms of their growth and development. So we work with home buyers as well as a small business, and this is really the area that probably the IDA is most known for, simply because of the volume of homes that have transacted or been transacted or purchased by home buyers. Tucson's Pathway to Purchase program, the Pima Tucson Homebuyer Solution Program, as well as the Mortgage Credit Certificate programs are three different pathways that we've used to help people become first-time home buyers. I'll show you a few stats on that. This program, the Tucson Pathway to Purchase program, the P2P program, has assisted in a couple of different segments from 2012 and 15, over 2,000 new home buyers, aggregating over $327 million worth of activity. And in that effort, down payment and closing cost assistance was up to over $32 million. So the volume represented here is just a part of the activities that the IDA has been able to participate in to help local city residents. As a part of that effort, there is another benefit that has become very important to Tucson, and that is, as the Arizona Department of Housing has taken the efforts and packaged those loans, we've been able, through some fees that are charged on that packaging of those loans, have been able to recoup through those fees over $7 million that has been returned to this community and earmarked for the Tucson Rapid Rehousing Fund, which is specifically targeting to support several types of homelessness services, both in prevention as well as mitigation of homelessness. So there's some resources there that have been brought to bear as a result, a kind of a co-benefit of the activities that we've been involved in. We evolved into a Pima Tucson Homebuyer Solution Program, which is both offered in Tucson as well as throughout Pima County. The Pima County government has its own, has an industrial development authority as well that provides services throughout the county. And as such, again, we have helped over 4,000, almost 5,000 new home buyers in this program, aggregating to over $702 million of activity. Again, the value of that assistance and closing cost assistance, down payment and closing cost assistance, is almost $30 million. So these have been great activities that have been occurring in our community. It's just that we have not been very good at telling that story to the public. And although, as you saw in previous slides, over 2,000 home buyers and now another 4,700 home buyers have participated through these programs, there's certainly room for more, and we hope to continue. We've extended those programs into the future, so we'll continue to work in those arenas. The MCC program is another tool of these two tools. This third tool is a little more complex, and when you have some time, take a look at these 4 different bullets that deal with the MCC programs have been around for almost 10 years, but in various aspects, the values have changed a little bit, but suffice it to say that the most recent history, in 2017 through 2020, the MCC program has been very active in helping folks with the mortgage credit certificate activity. And it's basically a credit on income tax. It makes it a lot more attractive for folks when they start to file their income taxes once they've already acquired their home. But a very valuable item. The last area I'd like to touch on here quickly is We've also been involved with multifamily projects. In order to, you know, address the much needed assisted living and for low income seniors as well as special need residents, we've helped fund larger scale projects, converting apartment buildings to assisted living centers or modernizing apartments to higher efficiencies to improve the quality of life for those folks who are in these facilities. And so there's a piece of this activity here, the multifamily projects, that we need to continue to focus on. If we're going to continue to increase the affordable housing stock in this community, we've got to do more of this. And this is an area that is very difficult to work in simply because investors today are looking for much bigger returns on their investment. They're building high-end apartment complexes rather than taking a look at existing housing stock and perhaps looking at ways to invest into renovation of those to make them more energy efficient, to make them more accessible so that we can expand our affordable housing stock as well as expand our inventory for much needed assisted living facilities. So we'll continue to focus on that aspect of our work. One of the more interesting things that we've also been involved in is, you know, we're sort of like a property owner as well. The city of Tucson has charged the IDA with managing the development of 3 different parcels in the downtown kind of urban core. These parking lots continue to serve as surface lots, and we've managed those in a very kind of rigorous manner and have actually provided the organization with revenue in order for us to do the work that we've done and expand our work, as you'll see by some later slides. The city of Tucson has some blocks downtown that are still undeveloped and could be of great interest for investment. Block 175 is the block right in front of El Chato at Franklin and Court. It's an attractive site. It's the biggest one of these sites. Another one is at North Church Avenue on the east side and West Council Street. And then there's another lot at this is the 241 North Stone lot, which is the second one, lot 174. The third lot that we have is at 450 North Main. This one has been of most interest recently since it potentially has an opportunity for development. We've recently started conversations with an organization that may be interested in developing this. So, although it's a very challenging little lot, it's a very small parcel. You know, as you look at barely 32,000 square feet, 3/4 of an acre. But we think because of its location at St. Mary's and Granada, I think that it could be an ideal spot for either mixed use or some other functions that may be of interest to the community. The potential for development, of course, is driven by some awareness that, you know, we have these parcels in primarily in Ward 1. We also are coordinating closely with the City of Tucson's Planning and Development Services, but probably the most important element of anything that may occur on any of these lots is the relationship with the El Presidio Neighborhood Association. Until recently, I was a member of the El Presidio Neighborhood Association because I lived in El Presidio. And so it's very important that for any community project to really be successful, you must take the advice and get the consent of the neighbors. And El Presidio Neighborhood Association is a very well organized body that has offered a great insight as to what's acceptable or not acceptable on those 3 developable lots that I mentioned earlier. So suffice it to say that that's an important consideration as we think about what is the right thing to do. So where do you see the IDA going? Well, we're have a very activist board of directors. Each member has responsibilities. The loan review committee, small business lending program, works very closely with Gary. We have a couple of folks that Sandra Barton, who chairs that committee, who's also a banker, that works very closely with Gary and has always got her eyes open for potential borrowers. The marketing committee, we have recently become very concerned with how do we get the message out to the public with the pandemic that we've been dealing with since March. We have seen that there is a whole transition occurring in how we communicate with each other. And any organization, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit or a public entity like the IDA, we need to figure out how to more effectively communicate with the public. And so this is part of it. And I thank you, Barbara, for allowing us to be here today to help us in that effort. Our partnerships with the community have always been effective. However, they're not well known. And we certainly want to get the word out in this time to our small business folks who have so many options out there available to them. And we need to be sure that we get the word out. We have great experiences that we need to talk about. The marketing committee will talk about those. We're doing a little more aggressive advertising. We'll do advertisements and billboards. So we're really starting to become somewhat of a different organization in terms of how we're going to market ourselves. Then looking further into the future, strategic planning, Neil Eccles, who will be the incoming president of the organization when our terms rotate, will be a very aggressive, I think, look forward in terms of what we should be doing as an organization. He's taken upon himself to strengthen the partnerships with our nonprofit partners around the community. We are looking at financial literacy training for folks to keep them out of bankruptcy. We want to keep them away from the payday lending organizations, and hopefully no small business out there that does that takes offense. But we want to try to help folks avoid the whole negative aspect of filing for bankruptcy if we can. So we're partnering with some financial organizations to help us down that path. And finally, a very interesting project that we're partnering up with the Pima Council on Aging is this home sharing idea, where we're doing some research. Judy Klinko from our board is chairing that effort, working closely with Mark from the Pima Council on Aging, is in terms of finding and developing data as to what is the availability of housing that could potentially be shared among the seniors of our community. And as such, we might even consider multi-generational sharing of homes. So it's a very interesting kind of dynamic idea. So we'll report more on that as the research is concluded, which is about to begin. So we're excited about the work of the board and what it does, and we're excited about what's next. And I want to thank you all for your attention. I know I threw a lot of information at you quickly, but this information is recorded, so feel free to hopefully go back and look at it. And finally, there is a program administrator that we work hand in hand with as members of the IDA, and that's Karen Valdez, our program administrator. And she and Gary are invaluable fountains of information and of creativity. And so if you need further assistance, do not hesitate to go there. And we're remiss though also not having on here our website, so we will make sure that gets out to you all. And I'm going to turn it over to Gary, and hopefully I haven't taken up all your time, Gary.
No problem at all.
Stop my share and give it back to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Larry. A couple of comments I want to introduce here. I do want to thank Barbara and the City of Tucson team for all of their work, not only in sponsoring these webinars, but just the direct support to business that they've been providing. So Barbara, thank you. Your work was invaluable during the crisis phase, which we've I think optimistically thought perhaps we're in a phase 2 now, that businesses have survived their first the first wave of COVID and are starting to think through what does the future look like for my business. So wanted to, if I could, Barbara, I wanted to go ahead and put up this page, which was the flyer that was put together to describe the City of Tucson program. Just to recap, the city put together almost $1 million that was designed to assist small businesses. A portion of that was provided through PPP loans, and the rest were provided through direct loans. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. And I also want to acknowledge the partnership with the TucsonIDA, who provided a loan, a very favorable term loan to BDFC, which allowed us to do a lot more PPP loans. Our affiliate Growth Partners Arizona provided funds. The Community Foundation of Tucson and Southern Arizona provided funds. So the community really came together to make more funds available for business. And we think it made a difference for a lot of businesses. So I want to take a look here at the program, the city's program, which was designed to be affordable, and I think also targeted businesses, smaller businesses, businesses where credit might not otherwise be available. So the loans were relatively modest. The maximum loan was $25,000. The interest rate was 0%, and the term was 10 years. And on a loan, the term makes a big difference. Just like your home mortgage, the longer the term, the lower the payment, and that's very important as we get through the short term. Flexible repayment options. There were no payments due for 6 to 12 months. No prepayment penalty, no collateral. It was designed to be a relatively simple loan process for the borrower. So you do sign for the loan. You are guaranteeing the loan, but you don't have to put up collateral. You don't have to put up your house, for example, as collateral. Anticipate the majority of the loans were for working capital, which just basically means expenses of the business, rent, payroll, marketing, which I want to come back to, utilities, and so forth. So the program was very successful. It was oversubscribed. A lot of businesses applied, and all of the available funds were utilized. I'm trying to remember. I think, Barbara, we did 40 to 50 loans, I believe, direct loans, and another 30 or 40 PPP loans with the city program. So really was great to work on, and it was great to meet all, kind of work with all the business owners. We received some information I wanted to share today. I know we have quite a few businesses on the line. A survey that reported from one of the trade associations that 50% of small business owners are looking at not reopening brick and mortar locations. There's a real shift to online sales and marketing, and I think we all have some examples of that. We have a borrower who actually has 2 brick and mortar locations that she is actually going to close down and is going to continue the business exclusively as an online retailer of specialty coffee and tea products. And she has built very good traction with the online sales. Much like the survey reported, many brick and mortar stores, the retailers, the sales are down, online sales are up. So that's my transition to state that businesses may need capital, may need funds to help implement their game plan, if you will. So our new program is simply called the Business Recovery Loans, and we'll blow this up so you can actually read it. But it's remarkably similar to the Tucson program, with one exception, which we'll talk a little bit about. We'll be using an SBA product. I'll take a step back. Business Development Finance Corporation is a nonprofit corporation. Been here, Arizona based, over 35 years. And we specialize in affordable financing for small business. The 7A, it's an SBA loan program that helps a lender make a loan because we receive a partial guarantee for that loan. So on our side of the fence. So our new program here, we really are optimistic about this. We think it's that for businesses that have, as I've said, we have a plan. We need to implement our plan. We need some money to make it happen to bridge the short term, the next 6 to 9 months as things continue hopefully to improve here. So the maximum loan will be $25,000. There'll be a 10-year term with 6 months of interest only, no prepayment penalties, no collateral required. And again, this is an SBA loan, so that is a big deal. The interest rate will be the Wall Street Journal Prime plus 2 3/4. So that is today right about 6%. And just to give you a sense of what that means, we calculated out what that would look like in the blue box. So if you were to borrow $25,000 for 6 months, your payment's $125. Over the remaining term of the loan, it's $288 a month. So again, it's the term, the long term, that really helps to make this affordable. Loan fees are relatively low. The fee is $550 plus the SBA's fee, which can all be financed into the loan. So we are ready to go. And again, this is a partnership with the Industrial Development Authority of the City of Tucson, which is providing capital through a loan, a very attractive low interest rate loan to BDFC. And again, we'll be co-marketing the program and assisting to get the word out through all of the resources of the IDA. So we're excited about this. We'd look forward to, we're hoping to receive applications. We're ready to go on this. We hopefully feel it, and we have received feedback from both banks who tend to refer projects to us and to end users that this is something that would help, that would really make a difference to many businesses that need that extra capital to implement their plan. So I'm going to wrap up there if it's okay. And I think, Barbara, were you going to have questions available at later on in the presentation?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, everyone is welcome to put their questions in the chat box or the Q&A function, and I'll absolutely share those along. But I was thinking about a couple of things, and I appreciate you sharing and reflecting back on where we started, and with some of the early direct loan programs, and of course the rollout of the PPP, and I know that at that time it was very critical. I'm thinking about the new loans and loans for business operations. Is there a point in time for a small business? Are there some key circumstances or factors that, when present, it might make sense to pursue a loan? When do you see that business coming to you? Are there some signs or pivotal moments where they should be considering it's time for me to get the working capital that I need, or the help for moving my business along?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we expect, and as a mission-based lender, we're going to have more flexibility to work with the borrower and to consider those types of factors. We would expect that most businesses, and we have quite a few loans, existing borrowers that have had a rough time that we've worked with. Larry pointed out, we have helped defer payments, restructure loans with some of the loans we've worked on together with the TucsonIDA. But I think the answer is relatively straightforward. It's we like to see evidence that the business has a plan and that they're starting to execute on that plan. That there's some green shoots, there's some evidence of increased online sales, just to pick on that one again. Or takeaway, we've pivoted to this. We used, just show our before the pandemic, this is how our business looked. This is what it looks like today. And this is what we see as the path forward. So, and that goes back to management is an X factor. It's a hard thing to quantify, but it's critical in these types of times. There's some businesses that will take advantage and find a very successful path forward. These changes, these external forces that have disrupted things so much can present opportunities. So those are the businesses that I think we want to make sure we have money for. And it's all about jobs. As an economic development lender, jobs is our primary focus, and we certainly need to help. Like the city BDFC, we don't create jobs. We just provide the capital to the entrepreneurs that are really making things happen.
Yes, and
I think if I may add to what Gary, piggybacking on what Gary is describing, and that is retaining jobs has been a high priority for all of us. And one of the lessons learned, I guess, from our experience over this pandemic is new technologies have been revealed to us that we weren't using, and those aren't free. And so we hope that as companies and businesses look to utilizing those new tools, that they include those as part of their thinking process. One of the other elements that we've noticed as well is training your employees to make sure that those new tools are fully utilized, so that they do not strand that investment. Simple things such as looking at your windows and doors for energy efficiency. You can't take the old utility guy out of me. And so that's one of the considerations that any business should look at in terms of making them or becoming more efficient. And I think if anything, looking inward and looking at your facility closer and making sure that if there are things there that can be improved to be more efficient, to give them a better chance of success, we certainly want to encourage that to be a part of their discussion with us and with Gary. So that's a great question. So thank you, appreciate that.
Fantastic.
The only other comment I wanted to make is if you need more than $25,000, that's not a problem. We can do up to $250,000 with this SBA Community Advantage program, which SBA created to really target underserved markets. So there would be collateral requirements, which is available collateral or larger loans. So, this is really the relatively small amount of money, but a relatively quick and easy process. But larger amounts are available if needed.
Great. And there is questions, and you might be able to answer this in the chat box by putting the website or links to apply for the loans and grants that you have mentioned here today, Gary and Larry. Any information that you would like to put? I know Kelly is asking from our attendees for that information. And so that's fantastic. There are still needs out there, it's apparent. And again, as you mentioned, there's so many changes that have occurred. Both of you have talked about the changes that we've all been witnessing and experiencing over the last several months that have forced us all to rethink how we do business. So that is very helpful. So we'll keep moving, and I will roll us over to Carrie Davis. And Carrie is Director, Alternative Business Funding with Community Investment Corporation and Capital Access Manager for Kiva Tucson. Carrie is working to expand capital access for all business owners in Southern Arizona. And I'm going to see if I can. Oh, that might be you, Carrie, actually.
Is it noise?
Yes, I'm hearing it.
I don't know. So you can hear me okay, right?
I can. So I was just sharing that you've been working throughout Southern Arizona with access to capital and community capital programs, Kiva and Moon Thunder. You're a returning webinar guest as well. You shared back with us in April about Kiva's no interest no fee back business loans up to $50,000, which are crowdfunded on Kiva's online platform. So it's been exciting to watch, Carrie. You've helped 20 local businesses obtain successful funding. So I'm excited to hear more about how things are going. Thanks so much.
Yeah, sure. Do I sound okay or do I sound choppy?
I just hear some things going on in the background.
Okay, I'm not sure what that is. Let me do this. Can you still hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, you can still hear me. Yep.
That's a lot better.
Is that better? Okay, I think maybe it was my headset thing. And sorry, it got dark in here, but I don't want to get up and turn off lights. I'm on the East Coast right now, so I'm in a different time zone.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Barbara. I've got just a couple slides
Okay.
to share with the group here. We have been working, since, I guess I started in January, but I think our first loan went through in March with Creative Kind. So for anyone on the call who doesn't know, Kiva is a program in partnership with Growth Partners Arizona Community Investment Corporation and with support from the city of Tucson. So thank you, Barbara. It is a community-backed loan. I am gonna just share a couple of results real quick from what we've been doing, and then I have a couple slides for anybody who's not familiar with Kiva, who's interested, that I can also share. Actually, I switched those slides while we were talking. So Kiva is a community-backed lending platform, and it was really created to help people who haven't been able to get access to capital from traditional means. So banks requiring, a certain level credit score or collateral, those sorts of things. Kiva actually steps in as the first rung on the capital access ladder for small businesses looking for, to help their businesses grow. And they offer zero fee, 0% loans ranging from $1,000 to $15,000. We currently have a grace period of 6 months that you can also request, that they always approve. And it basically is a two-part process. When you get approved for a Kiva loan, there is a first phase of private fundraising that you have to reach a certain goal. It's a number of people. So it's sort of like social underwriting as opposed to typical traditional bank underwriting. We just want to know that people in the community believe in your business and would support you with a $25 loan. And then it goes into public fundraising on the Kiva portal, where there are 2 million Kiva lenders around the world ready to contribute to your loan. And I said the loan sizes are here, and the size of the loan actually dictates the term of the loan. And basically, you just divide up the size of the loan by the number of months, and that's your payment. So it's really straightforward since it's a 0% loan. The progress that we've had to date, as I said, our first loan was funded in March. We have fully funded 20 loans and raised, and these are, pretty, micro loans, I guess they're categorized as. So $171,000 sort of created, I wouldn't say out of thin air, but, sort of. So from the community, in addition to Kiva lenders around the world, we've been able to generate that much capital for small businesses in Southern Arizona. And I think one fun fact here is that 66% of that funding has actually gone to women entrepreneurs. So I think it steps in where typically, women entrepreneurs have maybe a harder time accessing capital. So Kiva is a great option for all kinds of entrepreneurs. And I would also want to say we have a partnership model with a trustees, as we call them around town. So these are organizations that are also supporting small businesses who are getting going or continuing to grow. If you on the call here are an organization that works with entrepreneurs, definitely feel free to reach out. If we haven't spoken, I would love to engage with you and let you know what kind of resources we have available. That similar to this, I'm still in kind of Johnny Appleseed mode, where I'm trying to tell as many people as possible about this platform. So if you are any one of these types of organizations or know someone at any of these organizations who might want to know more about the Kiva platform, definitely let me know. Especially bankers, because I know it's tough to tell anyone no. And so a lot of times you can send them to me and I may be able to help them as the first step in capital access for them. And if you know a borrower or are a potential borrower, that there is the website to go check out if you want to potentially apply for a Kiva loan. let's see. I think that's it. I don't know that I need to go any more detail right now, Barbara, but if there are questions, I'm happy to answer any of those. I know you just kind of wanted a quick snapshot of progress, right?
Oh, fantastic. Yes. And it turns out that I believe one of your loan recipients might be on. Kelly says, thanks so much. She's talking about that in the chat room, so you might recognize. She's with Phlebotomy Training Academy and talks about her good experience raising $7,000. So I think that's exciting. And I was always impressed with how, really how quickly and easily it is to get your loan program going. So again, thanks for offering that additional, like you said, rung on the ladder for lending. And I think hearing, what Larry and Gary shared, and of course, Ellen's on with SBDC and all the lending opportunities that are out there, I think all would agree, we need all of those options, right? And so it's important to have these different avenues available to business. And would you say, is there, what do you think is going to happen next? And what do you foresee? I know that Kiva, didn't they raise the $15,000 limit early on during the pandemic? Is that going to stay? Where do you see things going in terms of that?
Yeah, Kiva has communicated to all of the people like me, capital access managers, that they don't foresee taking that away anytime soon, and likely never. I think it's probably something that they were looking to do anyway, to raise the highest loan amount. So I think that's going to stay in place. And yeah, we're just continuing to see how many borrowers that we can help out. And we're also looking at how do we engage more people as lenders across the community, like investment clubs, that type of thing. I'm really, a lot of the money that's going to these borrowers actually doesn't come from Tucson or Southern Arizona. It could be someone from anywhere around the world or the country. And I think this opportunity for people to invest as little as $25 into a local business is something we want to continue to get the word out about as well. And I just think it's so rewarding to have more of that local support happening. We're also putting together like a holiday gift guide for our local businesses who have been supported by Kiva, because we're trying to help people understand, like, let's just continue to invest in the community, whether it's directly to a borrower or, purchasing from them, and obviously patronizing them.
Can you share from the perspective of someone who might participate or invest in one of the loans, how does that work? And is the money repaid? Is it and over time? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so if you are looking to invest in a Kiva borrower, you can go to kiva.org and search for Tucson, and you'll find there are actually 3 current campaigns. The minimum amount to invest is $25, and you can certainly invest more if you'd like. And then when the borrower pays back the loan fully, you are then paid back. And your money, like your $25, let's say, would sit on the Kiva portal. You can take that out of Kiva, or you can reinvest it. So you could like recycle $25 over years and years and years if you'd like, or you can always take it out. And there's no fee on that $25. I think that's the really nice thing about this. As a borrower, you're able to tell potential lenders that it's really just, if you have $25 laying around and you can loan it to me for a little while, I will give it back to you in a few years, I promise. So that's kind of the nice thing about how it works on both sides. It's just idle capital being put to work.
So there is a question, if a current borrower needs to borrow more on top of an existing loan, is that possible? And if so, do they need to start repaying the existing loan first? So what, if any, are the requirements for that?
Yes, you can't have 2 Kiva loans at the same time. You are allowed to reapply for a Kiva loan 6 months after you've completed, you finished paying off your current loan.
Awesome. And I know I see the additional requests for funds are probably out there. And I wonder, even from Gary or Larry's perspective, layering loans, what's the opportunity there? And, is that something, obviously, if they're getting favorable, records, favorable repayment, favorable situations, does that help them? What would you say to that, Larry?
Gary, I'll take a bite of that first, but yes, I was just thinking about that question as well, and that is maybe this organization is ready for another step forward, so that Kiva can continue to work with the micro business aspect of it is truly important. It's a space that is very hard to serve, and I'm so pleased that some of our partners are involved in that. But as the business grows and becomes more successful and there's need for additional investment to be secured, yeah, maybe it's time for them to visit with Gary's people and Gary's team on BDFC. Now, we have a fairly rigorous process that does take a look at the existing business model as well as the potential, and that's the exciting part. If if this is the brand new mousetrap that is going to set the world on fire, then we're very excited about participating in that, especially if it's going to retain employment, as Gary mentioned earlier, or grow employment. Those are absolute priorities for us.
That's great. And Gary, if you had anything to add, go ahead.
Well, I think a business needs capital to grow, and to the extent they, again, are executing on their plan and they're getting traction from advertising, they're buying new equipment that's needed. Those are successful stories. So I think those are good lending opportunities.
And I think the key is conversation, right? It's reaching out. I think we encourage small businesses to not stay isolated and think of this all on their own, but to talk to people and to reach out and have these conversations just to see what's possible and what might make sense. As I always say, talk to the experts. That's and it will help you frame your thoughts going forward.
Yeah, Barbara, I would also add, we are Growth Partners Arizona and CIC are our kind of parent organization. They sponsor the Kiva Hub. And I know there have been a couple of instances where a loan has sort of been created through both. So like half of it through Kiva and half of it through like traditional lending. And I think as we continue to, serve people on Kiva, there could be some opportunity to collaborate more on like follow-on funding. I don't know I won't make any promises there because I don't do that side of the business, but I think there's certainly a place for a conversation.
So here's another question for Larry. The question is, can you speak to the financial education program? Is it a grant that will be available? If so, who's providing it? Gary, can you speak to that, the financial education program?
Yeah, it's a project still in development, but we're working again with one of as Carrie's partner, CIC. We're working with CIC on this, as well as with a couple of nonprofits. And the intention is not to provide grants, but to provide more financial literacy training for individuals who may have gotten into a situation where they've come into a credit union, for example, and are on the verge of bankruptcy and cannot find their way out of that particular situation. The resource would be first to pay off whatever small amount might be hanging over their head, but then by removing that stressor, allowing them then to make some decisions as to, okay, what are our next steps? And those next steps should be, one component should be understanding what financial institutions have to offer, becoming more literate on their own financial situation that they find themselves in, and potentially maybe grow their way out of that by being referred to other services that may be part of the environment that they find themselves in. So there's never one simple issue that's driving the problem. There's usually a variety of things that can be addressed. So we're hoping that this process will launch the beginning of 21. And I know because of the huge volume of activity that we're seeing in the new homebuyer activity, CIC and BDFC and well, the IDA primarily, who's providing the resources for this effort. We're slowly developing the concept so that we can implement it. We were hopeful that it'd be launched before the end of the year in order to help folks in the situation that we find ourselves in today. And but we're working. It's just that there's just so much demand on all of the providers that are currently involved with helping people, and it's you know, you've got to take your hat off to all of those who are involved in trying to help things move forward. So we beg for patience, but the program hopefully will be of substance that is helpful to the community.
Okay, great. Great. And I think as far as contact information, people are just asking for that. I know you included the websites. TucsonIDA.org is where you can find Larry and the work of the Industrial Development Authority, and then BDFC.com for the loan programs that Gary, Melinda, and his team have mentioned. And then Carrie has included her information, kiva.org/borrow, and then Carrie's email is there in the chat room, Carrie@cictucson.org. So that's fantastic. And you hit on it, Larry, when you said, you know, it's the work of all the resource partners out there. We certainly have made use of every one of them that we have come in contact with. Many have been on our webinars, and some are here today. Our SBDC, our SCORE counselors, all of our nonprofit organizations in the lending space and business assistance. So we appreciate each one of you. Thank you all for joining us today. So again, a thank you to our panelists. So I'll bring us to a close. We'll wrap up, but we'll be back next Monday at 3 o'clock. We're going to hear from Local First Arizona and businesses from their Scale Up program. So this will be more good success stories and ways that businesses have continued to work on their business model and add some incredible components to them. So that's exciting. Be sure to register when you see the email invite in your inbox. And it's our goal to keep you connected to these resources as we navigate this pandemic together. You can always call our City of Tucson Economic Initiatives Small Business Hotline at 520-837-4100 and check connecttucson.com for more resources or to sign up for our newsletter. So with that, we'll call it an afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining.